Hello, I want to help you get the best sound out of your guitar with playing, and so there's no buzzing. And sometimes when we play chords, you might hear some of those buzzing when you're playing chords, right? And the best thing to do, I think, is make sure that your fingers, when you're pressing down on the strings, are going toward the sound hole. So you're going to be against the fret going this way and not this way, okay? So for example, here's a G chord, and if one of these strings is buzzing, let's say it's this one right here, like that just means you got to bring it down inside the fret, further down to the sound hole, and it sounds a lot clearer. In fact, if you went right up against the fret, it's going to sound a lot better than right up against the fret this way, right? So when we're playing our chords, we want to have that full, clean sound, right? Whether you're playing with a pick or just your fingers. And so I think that that's a super helpful hint to get a nice clean sound out of the guitar. Now, also another thing is, when I've seen a lot of people, they'll play a chord like this, and they can't hear all the notes, or they're getting some kind of buzz. Sometimes when your fingers is touching one of the other strings, okay? And it's just like super minimal movement, right? When you're playing like a D chord or whatever chord you're playing, you gotta just kind of concentrate. And sometimes it just takes the smallest amount of movement to get the best sound out of the guitar, right? Sometimes it's like, oh, that's not sounding good, this one. But just go through each string, right? Make sure that none of those, or every single one of those are playing. So for example, if I'm hearing one that's like dead, I'm like, hey, those sound good, but that just means you got to move your finger ever so slightly to get a better sound. And it takes practice, so don't stress about it. Just work on getting a nice sound out of each chord before you try and tackle some of the harder material out there. And hopefully that'll help. Another reason why you may have buzzing, right? There's another. That's because part of my finger was touching one of those strings. Another reason why you might have buzzing on your guitar is that your strings are too close to the fretboard, right? The best thing to do if you don't know what you're doing is to take it to your local guitar store or shop, and you have a guitar luthier work on your fretboard. What he's going to do is he's probably going to stick an Allen wrench up here through this. It's called the truss rod. It's this metal bar that kind of helps. You can kind of move your neck back and forth here, and he's going to give it a slight turn, or he might just tell you this. You take an Allen wrench right here, and you can give it a slight turn left or right, depending on if it's bowed or back bowed or forward bowed. I don't know. I think that's what it's called. And it's your neck's either going this way or this way, okay? And some of you guys might have a truss rod, Allen wrench kind of place to put it right there, place to put the Allen wrench and move it. But most acoustic guitars anyway have them right here. I've seen electrics have them up here. But anyway, that's kind of helps with the bending and the bowing. And sorry I'm not more clear on which way to go. There's some really great tutorials out there. But the buzzing, again, if you don't know what you're doing, I would just take it to a guitar store and kind of have them go through the process with you. And sometimes, you might need to change the bridge saddle right here and make it bigger or smaller, and they'll take it out and sand it. Or right here on the nut of the guitar right here, sometimes they need to fix that, and there's going to be some problems there where it's letting too much of the string come down and touching the fret. So hopefully that will help you with getting a nice sound out of your guitar. And again, I would just practice getting a nice sound with even just single notes too, with your chords and your single notes. So if it sounds buzzy or muted, make sure you're bringing your finger down closer to the fretboard this way, and I think you'll get a better sound. So hopefully that helps.